And that's where recording yourself is so valuable, as it gives you accurate feedback on exactly how you sound. Now you're starting to learn your voice. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Marvin here from backsideoffear.com. As a person who stutters, I oftentimes found myself wondering, why in the world do I stutter? What causes my stutter? Is it possible for me to improve? If you're a person who stutters, have you ever had thoughts along those lines? For many, many years, because I didn't know what was causing my stutter, I didn't really know what to do. All I knew was to speak whenever I needed to speak and just try to speak as little as possible. So I would just isolate myself, try to avoid as many social situations as I possibly could, which later I found out it doesn't work. In my experience, what I found is the more I tried to avoid speaking, the worse my stutter became. Eventually, I just decided I'm just gonna give it a shot and just speak as often as I can and then just see what happens. Over that period of time, I found several different ways that helped me to significantly reduce my stutter. And I'm gonna share those with you today with my top 10 tips for overcoming a stutter. If you don't have a stutter, you could still utilize a lot of these particular tips, because these tips can be great for building self-confidence and improving your level of communication, whether you have a speech impediment, a stutter, or you just wanted to develop more confidence. So let's get started. Tip number one is to believe that you can improve. I found that this is the most important tip of all. If you don't believe on any level that you're going to improve, the odds of you improving are very, very, very slim. I liken this idea to the term sapere videre, which I learned from the book Aspire by Kevin Hall, whereas sapere means to know and videre means to see. Therefore, sapere videre is to know how to see, but more importantly, is to know how to see what is not actually there. It's about seeing yourself as the person you can become. And I believe that's very, very important, to really see yourself as the communicator that you would like to be. See yourself as a more fluent speaker, because the more you see yourself as a more fluent speaker, the more likely you'll be able to reach to those levels. So that would be the most important tip, is to believe that you can improve. Tip number two is to expand your comfort zone socially. This was very important for me because as an introvert, I just want to do the opposite. I don't want to go out and expand my comfort zone socially. I don't want to go out into parties or whatnot. That's not typically something I would consider fun. Fun for me is going out to the golf course and enjoying 18 holes of golf. That sounds like fun for me. But I found that expanding your comfort zone socially, getting out there, mingling with others, being social, practicing expressing yourself, that helps to expand your comfort zone. And the more you can expand your comfort zone, the more opportunities that you have to identify moments where you have successes. So it's important to really emphasize the times that you succeeded, the times when you had a great conversation with somebody. You can store that into your memory bank. So I feel like that's very important, is to get out there and expand your comfort zone socially. Tip number three is to continuously find opportunities to speak. This was highly important for me, and it helped me a lot because I was able to get a lot of experience speaking and getting evaluated, getting feedback on how I was speaking. And to do that consistently being the important word in this particular tip, as the more consistent you are, the higher the chances you are to develop into a better speaker, develop momentum, and have a lot more in store in your memory bank as far as what to call back on when you're going through future moments where you're speaking. It can be speaking anywhere, just like speaking at meetings, at work, where perhaps maybe you might be in an office meeting where you would typically not participate very much. Just take that step forward and just participate, share your ideas in that group setting. For me, I joined Toastmasters, and I made it a habit to want to give a speech as often as I could in my Toastmasters club, and that helped me to get consistent in giving speeches, where you can find any other opportunity where you can speak. Just finding any opportunity where you can to speak, because that's going to help you to find your voice, find how you communicate, and help to develop into a better speaker. Now, we talked about expanding yourself socially. We talked about speaking on a continuous basis. Tip number 4 is to record yourself speaking. I know you might be cringing at this thought of recording yourself, but you don't need to record yourself with video from the get-go. You can just record yourself with audio. I found this to be an incredible tool, and most importantly is to see where you're starting from. For example, when I first really made the decision that I was going to figure out like how to work through my stutter was when I was in the public speaking course. It was around February of 2013 is when I was in that public speaking course, and I never recorded my first speech. I didn't record my speeches until number 4. So I never got that one down. And looking back, I wish I did have that recording so I can see where I started from, because I just don't have that documentation. So really having that starting point from where you began and then be able to look at that progress as you go along is a great benefit. You may have seen this next one coming. We talked about recording yourself on tip number 4. Now, tip number 5 is to listen to your recordings. Now, I know this is tough. It's tough to listen to yourself on audio and watch yourself on video, but it is so important. It's so valuable. I found that when I started listening to myself on audio, which is where I started first, I didn't record myself on video until a bit later on, maybe about 5 months later. When I started recording myself via audio is when I started to identify patterns in my speaking. And I would just listen back and see, okay, I'm speaking clearly here, but now I see my voice kind of getting caught up. And then I'm having a difficult time. I'm starting to stutter, and then it gets fluent. And I'm listening for these patterns. I'm listening to how I'm speaking. I'm listening to how confident I sound. And then I'm planning in my mind, okay, what can we do differently to improve? And that's where recording yourself is so valuable, as it gives you accurate feedback on exactly how you sound. Now you're starting to learn your voice. You're starting to learn your own voice. So when you go out there and speak again, you already have a good idea of what your voice actually sounds like, enabling you to improve much faster. So I would highly recommend to record yourself as well as listen to your recordings. Tip number 6 to overcome your stutter. And this one came largely from my professor in my public speaking course, where he talked about breaking my pattern for speaking. He talked about the fact that I'm stuck in a particular pattern that's not doing me any good, and I needed to break that pattern of speaking so I can speak more fluently. This is where recording yourself via audio and or video is so valuable, as you can identify these particular patterns. It's tough to identify the patterns when you are speaking live and just trying to listen to yourself as you're speaking. It's very difficult to identify those patterns and really get a good understanding of how you're speaking. A few ways that have helped me to switch up my pattern is to speak louder, speak slower, and use more vocal variety. And this helps to switch it up, because I found that a lot of times when I listen back on my recordings, I noticed that I would speak at a very soft and monotone sound, and I would speak with very, very low confidence, use no vocal variety, and I would speak really, really, really fast. And then I start, I wouldn't speak that fast necessarily, but you get the idea. I was speaking fast. I would certainly speak faster once I feel a block was coming, I would assume, and I would just try to rush through the sentence, which isn't gonna work to get through the sentence. I just identify those particular patterns, and that comes from recording yourself via audio and or video, and that way you can get that important information. Tip number 7 to overcome your stutter is to listen to positive audio recordings. Now, this can be audio books or different seminar talks that you're interested in. This really helps to boost your mindset and to have a more positive mindset as you're moving forward, and that can help you to stay on track to achieving your goal of becoming a fluent speaker. It's also a great learning opportunity, and when I listen to audio, oftentimes I'm listening to how the speaker is speaking. Like, what's their tone of voice? How are they using vocal variety? Like, what's their confidence level in their speaking? And I can feed off of this and personalize it for myself, so I can find my own voice and boost my own confidence and experiment with vocal variety, using a more slower, steady pace of speaking not speaking too fast, not speaking too slow, and having good volume in my speaking. These audio recordings can be great to listen to while you're commuting to work, or while you're working out, or just anywhere where you can fit them in. It's great to have at least about 30 minutes to an hour of good audio recordings to listen to, and that way you can help to keep your mind on track to your goal. Tip number 8 is to read positive books. This tip goes hand in hand with the audio recordings, because as you're reading positive books, it really helps to boost your mindset and have a positive mindset so you can stay on track to achieving your goals. A few of my favorite books are Aspire, there's The Magic of Thinking Big, Og Mandino has several good books, as well as John C. Maxwell has a lot of good books as well that you can read. You can also read these books out loud and record yourself as you're reading it out loud. That's another way to get more familiar with how your voice sounds and to develop a reading voice as well. For this one, I kind of missed the ball because when I first started, I was completely desperate. I was like, I want to do whatever I can to improve my speaking. I'm sick and tired of stuttering. And then all of a sudden, like about a year and a half or 2 years later, I was speaking a lot more fluently than I ever had in as far as I could remember speaking. And I'm like, wow, what next? I didn't have any long-term goals. To really identify what your passions are, like what do you want to do? What in life would you love to do if your stutter was not a factor? Thinking along these lines can help to expand your thinking, and that way, once you hit your short-term goals, you're still on track to achieving your long-term goals, and you can stay motivated throughout the process. Tip number 10 is to help others. This is an important element that I found that is very beneficial. It's beneficial for the person that you're helping, and it's also beneficial for yourself. As you're helping others, you're really further emphasizing, you're further cementing what you've learned in the past. So as you're teaching somebody else, you are in turn internalizing what you know. I found that taking my focus off of myself and putting it onto others really helped to improve my communication. Because you may have had thoughts such as like wondering, what are they thinking about me? Or like, are my clothes straight? Is everything all good? You know, or, you know, did I put deodorant on? Or you may be thinking about all these particular thoughts related to what the other person might be thinking about you. And that just makes it difficult to communicate, because then you're self-conscious, you're not really focused on what you're trying to say. This makes communicating a lot more difficult. For example, say I was going to a Toastmasters meeting and I was going to give a speech. Before I get up there and give a speech, I'm going to think to myself, okay, I want to release my tension and I want to focus on what my intention is for the speech. What do I want to help my audience achieve? Once I start focusing on what I want my audience to achieve from my speech, then that ups my game, okay? Now I have to perform at my highest level so I can communicate this message to my audience. How do I do that? Well, I need to speak as fluently as possible. I need to do everything I've practiced so I can be at my utmost best for my audience. I got that idea from one of Brandon Burchard's books. I believe it was one of his most recent books called High Performing Habits. Those are my top 10 tips for overcoming stuttering that have helped me over the years. I hope you find them useful as well. As a quick recap, number 1, believe that your speech can improve. Number 2, discover ways to stretch your comfort zone socially. Number 3, consistently find opportunities to practice speaking. Number 4, record yourself speaking. Number 5, listen to your recordings. Number 6, change your pattern of speaking. Number 7, listen to positive audio recordings. Number 8, read positive books. Number 9, set short-term and long-term goals. And number 10, help others. In the comments below, you can share tips and ideas on ways that have helped you overcome your stutter. I would love to hear from you as well. And remember, it's amazing what you can achieve on the other side of your fears. Subscribe for more videos. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and share it with your friends to help grow the community of action takers. And don't forget to visit me on backsideoffear.com. Have a great rest of your day.